There we go. Got to turn the mic on. Hello, everybody. Starting up a minute or so early here, but I am ready to go. Welcome to Demo Day with Splat. I am Splat, or Brett Taylor. Sorry, I took a couple weeks off. Had a couple bad weeks with illnesses in the family, and just generally being extremely tired. But let's kick it off here. Got a new beer this week. I don't think I've discussed Neshaminy Creek before, but this is another local Pennsylvania independent craft beer brewing company. This one's One Giant Coast, and it's really good. Double IPA, East Coast meets West Coast IPA. Yeah, I'm not going to read the whole label here, but it's just, yet another hazy double IPA. And if you can find Neshaminy Creek around you, I suggest you buy some. They make some pretty good beer. So, cheers. So let's see. I haven't really done a whole lot in terms of developing and contributing back to Superalgos. I've been working on this trading strategy, my grid trading strategy, and hunting down a couple of bugs that I have run into because of it. And I haven't found answers to it yet, but I have gone headfirst into yet another part of the Superalgos code base that I have not learned about yet. So I plan on walking through it with you all tonight, seeing if I can get a little bit further into understanding how things work and maybe solving this bug. But before I jump into actually going through code, I was going to show you the trading system, the grid strategy that I've come up with, a couple of the modifications that I've made to it, and showing you the bug firsthand, because I have a couple of examples of it actively being, buggy right now. So I guess first, I'm sure most people are just interested in learning about the trading system itself and how it works. So I'll go over some of the modifications I've made to it. At first, I thought that the bug I was running into was because I had too many of these tasks running at once. And it still may somewhat run into that, or it may be caused by that. But it's not a problem with too many tasks using up too much memory or too much CPU time or anything like that. It's really inside of the code base itself in the WebSocket and the way that these events are handled. But anyway, so I thought that if I reduce the number of tasks that I was running, it may make things more stable. So I dropped down to 4. And so that means I have 4 grid lines. Take another sip here. So I have 4 grid lines, and you can see right now, because I had my yellow and my bluish text, that each of these is actually operating as I expect them to, and they all seem up to date. One of these, this one in particular, you see how it, yeah, you can see it there. It says waiting 1 minute for next execution, whereas all these other ones say waiting for Sparta EMA multi-timeframe market. So the bug itself is that when I'm waiting for this done, the multi-timeframe market to finish completing and send an alert, an event saying I'm done with my calculation. As soon as that's finished, it should update this node, this trading process instance, which will then immediately go through its logic to see if it should buy or sell, or if it did actually buy or sell and, needs to close out the trade. When you don't put this execution started event node on here and link it to something, then the low frequency trading bot just automatically runs every minute. And it doesn't matter if you started it at 30 seconds past the minute or 10 seconds or whatever, it'll always run exactly 1 minute in time after and over. Whereas if you link it with the execution started event, it will run as close to the top of the minute as possible. As quickly as the multi-time frame market in this case is calculated, then the trading bot will run to see if it needs to update itself or if a trade processed or something. So there's ups and downs to both sides. What I'm hoping is that since the bug seems to be in the way that each of these individual tasks are waiting for the exact same event, some of them sometimes don't get the event and just sit there waiting forever. So taking away that event started, the execution started event node means that I don't have that dependency. And then this task that is not waiting on the other event should just continue to process and work as expected. Anyway, sorry, that was very long-winded. And I didn't really mean to get into the bug right then, but now that you know the history behind this design of dropping down to 4 instances and why this one in particular does not have that same execution started event node, lays the groundwork for what we're going to talk about later. So anyway, back to the trading system. Sorry to keep changing gears here. You can tell that I definitely did not plan out what I'm going to talk about tonight, and so I'm just kind of going haphazard. But hopefully it makes sense to somebody, and you can always replay the video, and maybe it'll make sense the second time around. Anyway, so I have my 4 trading systems here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They correspond to 4 tasks over here. Each one of them has its own trading system that it references. And each one of these runs one grid line. And the reason for that, if you don't remember or you haven't watched the other videos, is that if I were to simply use one trading system and then add multiple trading strategies to it, only one of these can be active at a time. And so as soon as I trigger on, then this trading strategy would be active, and all of the capital that I wanted to use would be available to this trading strategy. No other strategy could kick off, and then my grid lines wouldn't really work too well. So having each of these completely separate from each other, they almost work, well, they could totally work as if I was putting one of these on a brand new piece of hardware or running it in a completely different instance of the trading bot. And that's exactly what these tasks do. They essentially run a brand new instance of the trading bot. And these could be on separate pieces of hardware. They could be on the same piece of hardware or virtual machine or Docker image or whatever you're running. For me, I have all 4 of them on the same piece of hardware, and they all operate completely independently of each other. So if number 1 is triggered on, number 2 can also trigger on, number 3 also, number 4 also. So each of these 100% independent of each other. The way that I have these lines set up now is I am starting Sorry, that's a little bit difficult to see. The idea is similar, very similar to what it was before, where I follow the 1 hour EMA 200 to kind of act as the center or as my reference point for creating these different levels, these grid lines. And since the EMA 200 loosely, or I guess I should say slowly, follows the active chart, this will slowly also kind of orient the grid to follow the chart. So this one's starting at 4% above the 200, the EMA 200. And the sell side is selling at 8% above. So I'm made 4 grid lines that are 4% apart from each other. So buy at 104, sell at 108. That's the first one. Second one is buy at 1.0, so 100% of the EMA 200. And sell at, sell at 4% above. So the next one is buy at 96, sell at 100. And then this one, last one, is buy at 92, sell at 100. Sorry, sell at 96. So I'm keeping, I guess, kind of that more traditional, by keeping the 4% spread between each one and just setting the levels at that 4% mark. The next thing, if you don't remember, this part is the same, where we're trying to buy at the 1 minute interval. But this limit buy order is going to stay open for 60 periods, so 1 hour. And then it'll close and realign itself with the EMA 200 based upon whether it went up or down, whatever. So it just kind of tracks the 1 hour EMA 200 resetting itself every hour. And the sell side, I ended up doing the exact same thing. So what I found out, and I mentioned it before, but I didn't actually get to trying it, but the spawn multiple orders true is what allows you to keep using the same sell order over and over and over, close and reopen, the same way that the limit buy order was doing, because it defaults to spawn multiple orders true. So, same idea. This one is going to, the buy was at 4% above. This one's sell at 8% above. And then my cancel order event is every 60 periods or 60 minutes. So 1 hour. Sell stays open for an hour, closes, realigns itself with the EMA 200, opens back up, and keeps going. Let's see if we can find this. We have our live trading session here. Resume. Oh, I don't have all the different ones added on here. But let's see what we can do. Turn our candles on. Let's turn on our EMAs. Let's turn on our zoom in here. We have to zoom all the way into the 1 minute. And we have to get over to today's date. For 1 minute. We want to turn on our buy orders and our sell orders. Hey, there you go. Got some price action going on the chart already. So you see how the buy orders, these greens, kind of keep going up and up and up and up, and they're kind of following a very smooth curve. And then I made my purchase because the market started going down. And then I put my sell another 4% up. And you can see it's very slowly kind of following this downtrend, starting to reverse. And if there's a very sharp spike up, you know, I may come at a loss. But during back testing, it's actually worked out pretty well because the natural flow of the charts seems to be much smaller than 4%, at least over an hour. And so even though eventually I may go down below, you know, my actual purchase level, it generally during back testing would find its way back up. Or if it did drop below, then the loss that I sustained would be much lower than if I was using my older method. Older method was I would set my sell and leave it open for like a month. And then if it didn't sell in like a month, I would just immediately close and basically do a market order to get out, cut my losses. But a lot of times that turned into like a 20 to 30% loss because sometimes the market really takes a dive, especially over the course of a month. And really, if you're doing something like that, it really needs to be a much longer term. And really, you know, if you go back to, let's see, I think January and December 2021, January 2022, we still haven't reached the levels like 46,000, I think was where it was. So if I happen to set a sell at like 46,000, I'd still be waiting for Bitcoin, sorry. I'd still be waiting to get that sell to actually hit. Whereas with this, it seems like it closes out a lot quicker, and I may not make my full 4%, and I may lose some money, but my loss seems to be much less when I use a strategy like this. So we'll see. Looks like the market's just taken a dive in the last day. And so I haven't had any sells today. I've had lots of buys today. Actually, I can show you right now how I would put the other trading systems right on the same graph, the same chart. So we'll go over to our charting space. I want to get rid of the testing. I know looking at live. I'll make that a little bit bigger. Which chart was I on? This was live trading 1. That's this guy. And let's look back at this real quick, and I'll just do it to illustrate what I'm looking for. You can see our buy orders are in the simulation objects. I know that's really tough to see on the video here. And then the other thing that I want is a trading engine, because this keeps the statistics and the balances. And this is where you can see what your ROI is. And how many days it's been trading and things like that. So you can see you can see that I was up 9% coming into this week, or today or yesterday, I guess today. And now that I have this sell open and the market's tanked, I'm basically breaking even for all the trades that I've made right now. But hopefully this will hit, in another couple days and I'll get some more money. So anyway, I need the simulation objects and I need the trading engine. I'm just going to rename this to be 1 and trading engine to be 1. So I can take that. I want my trading engine, disconnect, and my simulation objects gonna be 2, and that's gonna be 2. And I'll connect it down here. Again, that's a right click. So this is my left click to move this around. Right click brings up the, did that make it in there? Hopefully, yes it did. You can see I have trading engine 2 and simulation objects 2 connected to the BT grid live trading session 1. We go back to our charting space and now you see I have these 2 extra selection boxes, drop downs, whatever they are here. I can turn on my limit sell and my limit buy. You can see I got my other buy and sell here. And I'll leave off the trading engine stuff for right now. So I'm scrolling these back up just to make it a little bit easier to see. So get rid of 2 and 3. I need my trading engine 3. Attach. And simulation objects 3. Attach. That's smaller. Bring that down, right click to get it to link. Now I've got 1, 2, 3. Do the same thing with 4. And these simulation objects. Attach. Shrink. Working on a small screen here. There's 4 and minimize, save it. And now we can turn on that buy order, that sell, and turn on this buy, this sell. And scroll these up. And there you go. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 grid lines. 3 of them are looking to sell right now. One of them is still open, waiting for the market to fall even further. But yeah, that's pretty nifty. Yeah. So you can see here, sometimes the chart itself just takes a little bit of time to actually get the data. And struggles. You can see we got some good buy sell action going on here. Made some good money. That reminds me, I need to figure out why my calculations are coming out as ROI infinity when it should be like, 4 or 5%. But here's a good illustration of why having the sell kind of follow the chart is a good thing sometimes, because we set our sell here at around 15.1513, and we actually made the sell up at about 0.1520, and of course it disappeared. Can we get it back? But anyway, you can see it was following the chart going up, and then we had a big spike, and boom, I took advantage of that big spike. And same thing here. So we made a buy probably around here. My chart isn't coming up here. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Maybe that'll get it. Sometimes the data just doesn't want to come across. There we go. Sometimes you just have to refresh it. So we were by, and EMA 200's going up a little bit. We finally hit our spike going down. Man, give me a break. And then we placed our first sell, and then the market kept going up. So we traced it up a little bit and finally made our actual sell over here. We made another extra, less than 1%, but made a little bit more money because we were following the market going up. So anyway, that was kind of the idea. Make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more reactive to what's going on with the market, and not just setting flat levels and hoping that it worked. Ooh. And then sometimes you get these where it's like, can't really see that. The bottom of the candle, the wick right here, I'll get in. It was right above the buy, so we just missed it. Anyway, that's the trading system, and that's how you show multiple different tasks on the same chart. So this one doesn't have a bot or a task that is frozen at the moment. Let's go check out, excuse me. Let's go check out my second node. See how this one's doing. A little bit of time to load. This one I believe is trading ADA. Yep. Let's see, we give this a minute. Everything should sync up. The happening here behind the scenes is that the browser is running its own process locally on my machine or on your machine when you're running it. And it's reaching out to the back end, the Odroid node in my case. And it's trying to sync up and get the status of these. The trading system. Sometimes it takes another minute or two for these to actually update their status. Hopefully these are all active. Oh yeah, I haven't set up this chart either. So, let's see. Over to our current date. Our episode on. EMA. No orders? Come on. Well, here we go. PBR. Sync and sync and sync. These are all in sync. Cool. So no bug here at the moment. Save. Go over to our Bitcoin trading node. Oh, whoa. Right now, Philadelphia police surround home after SEPTA officer shot and wounded. That's pretty interesting. 4700 block of Leiper Street, where he barricaded himself inside his home. Holy cow. Suspected gunman found dead inside Philadelphia home after shooting SEPTA officer and 2 women. My lord, what is this world coming to? Well, stay off the news, folks. It's only bad news. Back to trading cryptocurrencies. All right, so it looks like we may have one instance here that's hitting the bug. What I like to do here is, you can see I have one that I've already removed the execution started event from. These two seem to be working fine. It might take another minute for everything to totally sync up, but as soon as you see this yellow text, generally means that these nodes are working as expected. This one doesn't seem to be doing that. So I'm going to stop it. And then what I usually do is I'm trading on Binance US using this. I look to see, so as I was saying, these limit sell orders, limit buy orders are supposed to update themselves every hour. So if there's any open order that is over an hour old, you know that something is messed up. And I do have a BTC limit sell order that last updated today at 4:50 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's probably it. If it's a limit sell order, I'll generally leave it open and let it just organically close on its own. Hopefully it will, the market will come back up and it'll actually sell. If it's a buy order, I'll close it. And then when I restart my trading process here, it'll start over fresh, but it'll reuse that that capital. So what I'm doing with these is, instead of just restarting it and hoping and praying that it, syncs and runs, I'm deleting the getting started event, so we don't have to deal with it anymore. And wait another minute or two to make sure that everything has cleared out on the node, on the hardware server. because you'll see sometimes you'll hit run and it seems like it'll pick up exactly where it was and it'll just kind of spin and do nothing. You'll have to stop it again. But you can see we waited long enough. Everything was kind of refreshed and closed out when it was supposed to be closed. Now we're waiting for our live trading session to run. So I can click start and run it. And then because it creates a little bit of noise, I like to go over to Twitter and delete the just started message that it sends to Twitter. And eventually I will get back into the social bot and put an option to remove that message if you don't want it, because I don't really want it. Anyway, now that that's running and I've demonstrated how to work around this bug, you can do it yourself. I'm going to check one more, make sure I save. I'm going to check one more. Server here. And this one's trading Ethereum. And then we'll look at some code. Leave the boring stuff for last. While this is loading, I guess I can kind of describe my current understanding how this works. So I think the system is set up more or less like pub sub, publisher and subscriber. If you are familiar with RabbitMQ or Kafka or any other message bus system, you may have heard PubSub before. And this is just kind of like a WebSocket interpretation of that. So yeah, I've already removed the execution start event from one trading instance. Ooh. Okay, there. Sync. All right, so we have one that's not connected here. And that looks like it is probably in the sell state. Is good. All right, so let's stop, collaborate, and listen. If you can tell me who sang that song, what's the title of the song, and what year that song came out, without looking it up on the internet, maybe I'll send you some Superalgos tokens as a reward. You heard it here. Send it to me over over Twitter, or find me in Discord or Telegram for the one person that's viewing this right now. Or if you drop it in the live chat here, I'll catch up with you and get your address. Send you some free tokens. So we want to delete the execution started event node, and then we want to restart. And I guess another reason why I'm not really waiting for top of the hour. If you look at the time, it's 9:38 as I'm recording this. Not really worried about waiting for the top of the hour, because when these, the trading bot is in running for a long amount of time, when those sells and buys actually hit, aren't going to be right at the top of the hour. Excuse me. So they're organically going to start falling off and tracking different time periods, I guess. And it's a low frequency trading bot anyway, and I'm utilizing limit orders. So my timing doesn't matter that much. And so having these execution started events is nice to make sure that things are processing as quickly as possible when they can. But again, I'm using limit orders, and even though I'm tracking the 1 minute candles, I don't really need things to be happening immediately as soon as a candle closes. So it's okay with me if, it's 30 seconds past, or, 5 minutes past the hour, whatever. It doesn't necessarily matter. So there it is. So all of those are kind of working now. So make sure we save. And now we can look at some code. I know everybody's dying to do that. Let me change my thing here to my share. So this is what we're working with. If I can that a little bit easier, I'll just do those 2 bumps. So inside of our root superalgos, there's the projects, and then foundations, and then TS, and our process modules. And the file that we want to look at is the process execution events.js. And I want to turn on word wrap because it just makes it a little bit easier for me. Make this a little bit. And ignore all the red. I have a couple of linting plugins installed. I personally think that it helps me, not necessarily a better programmer, but I think it helps me learn best practices a little bit quicker. And doesn't necessarily mean that any of these things are actually wrong. It just means that, you want to try to avoid some of the things. But this was, I believe if you look at this code on GitHub, I think this was committed a couple of years ago, and I don't think it's really been touched since. So using an older style, it's still using callback functions. It's not using async await. And there's a couple of other things in here too that I kind of saw, but you can see the linter doesn't really like these uppercase TS, which are kind of like global variables, global constants, global objects in this case. And we have our callback functions, which isn't really used that in newer JavaScript code or versions. Eventually all this needs to be refactored. I'm gonna try not to do that tonight. Oh, I guess I could show, if you're going to debug, how I got here. One, I was talking to Luis, who's one of the founders and the lead programmer. Oh, I was already doing a little bit of work here. But if you are going to debug this yourself, you'll want to go into your log files. And, I guess I'll go back here. All right, so you can see I had those 4 trading sessions. So each of those trading sessions creates its own log directory and keeps its own logs separate. Oop. We want to go into one of these. And so now you can see you have a dated folder, and these correspond to when the bot was started. I'll go into this first one because you can see I've restarted this bot 3 times. It's gotten out of sync 3 times. And you can see that you have these loop logs that you can look through. And generally you want to look at the latest. You can see we have loop 1952. And here's some logs for you. So you can see we initialize, we wait for a dependent process. Initialize process execution events. Initialize is spelled wrong there. So if somebody wants to contribute, first thing and easiest thing to do would be find the bugs, find the spelling errors and fix them. Let's see, entering code block, waiting for a dependent process. We get our multi-time frame process definition. We have our caller ID. We get a subscription ID. And then it creates a text file, and you can see the difference in time here. So this was 6 a.m. And then this was 2100 hours. So was that 9 p.m., about 9:30? So it was sitting and waiting for the dependent process for about 9 hours before, or sorry. Excuse me. About 15 hours. Is that what that is? Yeah. Before I finally stopped the trading session where it wrote out the file, and then I probably restarted it right then. So that's what kind of led me to this. And then you can always do a search for some of this code or some of this error log, debug log. Find yourself. We enter a code block. So we enter, this is where that enter the code block run function start. And then we made it, create our caller ID. Here's our caller ID. Gets the extra caller ID added on the end. We send some info logs. And then you have this event server client, listen to event, waiting for process execution finished. And then it'll probably fire its 2 callbacks. Waiting for, And that's basically that code block. And then we have our 2 callbacks. Here's our subscription ID, message. And then I guess this events callback, enemy function. Yeah, we didn't get a stop listening. And then the rest of this is the case when it's not depending on something. So I think what happens is, let's see, what did our error message say? Wait for dependent process, subscription ID. Change putty here. Yeah, so we got info start, wait for dependent process, subscription ID equals something. And we change code here. So that is probably exactly where this got hung up. We got our response callback with our message. We got our subscription ID. And then we were waiting for our events callback. Did not get to events callback. And that is in this server client listen to event. So event server client is over here. This file. And then want the listen for event. Listen to event, is that what we were looking for? Listen to event. Our events callback, response callback. Send command. Command is here. So we had our response callback. We got a caller ID and response callback. So we response waiters set that, I believe. And we added ourselves to the events listeners. So this is basically our subscribe. Event or method. It's waiter. We set a, yeah, caller ID. Okay, so it should hit have event action. Oh, listen to event process. Mission finished. Wait a minute. What am I looking at? We had listen to event. Action is listen to event. So that's that. Command action is listen to event. We have our caller ID. We set the key. We create a handler. Then we set it. We add it to the list of listeners. And then we add it to the list of response waiters. Or I guess it's a map. Dictionary object. JSON object, I guess. Let's see. So we have event server response. Event rate. So this is most likely I wonder if this is it. So we get our WebSocket client on message. We parse our data. We look for what type of action it is. I have a feeling our action is probably event server response. And then it's supposed to pull out the handler from the response waiters. Mapping. And then if it found it, it runs handler message. Back. Might be this. Event raised. So I think that this may be what's happening. Whether it's this one or it's this one, it's saying look for this key in the dictionary or the map and set it to handler. If handler exists, then run the callback message. Or basically the same thing. If the handler exists, run the handler with the message. So if it doesn't find it, this is all in a try catch, but this may just get set as undefined. And then this would return false. This would return false. And it would just go on with its day and not retry or anything. So I wonder if that's it. I wonder if that might be what's happening. What I would normally do now is either set breakpoints in here. I think this is all test server, so it's all running on the server, not in the browser. Easy. Hey, I'm tired. Gotta get to bed soon. That's it. Probably did. Whatever. But anyway, if there's a There should be an else. Maybe it should raise an error. Doesn't get it. If it should be there. Probably raise an error if you can't get it. Or at least console log at the very least that it couldn't find it. So I might start there. I'll probably start there tomorrow. I think I'm gonna get ready and go to bed. I wonder if that's what's happening. So it may mess up looking in the sent listeners, response waiters. Might not be able to find that caller ID or the key in this case, which is tiled string, concatenated string. And then it basically does nothing. It's like, oops, sorry, didn't see ya. And so then our process never gets the message and it's still waiting. Doesn't know that it should not be waiting. And it'll never get the message. So that's what I think might be going on. I will probably run some tests tomorrow to see what's happening. Let's see if that hypothesis is correct. And then, who knows? Maybe I'll have a PR up ready to go. But that's it for me for the night. I hope the 1 or 2 people who joined found this interesting, learned a little bit. I definitely learned a little bit digging into the code here. I need to learn more, understand this a little bit more. But yeah. Hopefully, if you have any questions about trading systems, how to get them set up in Superalgos, I haven't done anything extremely intricate, but I have been playing around with it quite a bit, so I may be able to answer your question. If you are looking for any particular thing that might be available on like TradingView or something like that, I may not be the person to do it for you because I just don't have a whole lot of experience with a lot of different trading algorithms and things like that. I'm still learning. But anyway, I'll try. Reach out to me on Twitter or the Superalgos Telegram or the Superalgos Discord or on Reddit in our Superalgos. I think there's a Facebook group. I don't really spend time in there, but I'm sure that the people that are in there are very eager to help you as well. And follow Superalgos on Twitter, all the socials. Give us a star on GitHub, clone it, fork the project, clone it, start running it, play around with it, get your hands dirty, and I'll see you back here next week. And also, we just had the token distribution. Get in line for next month. Make sure you make your profile, get it uploaded, get it added to the system, get your tokens, and start contributing back to the project. We have lots of documentation that needs to be done, and a lot of people are translating it into different languages. There's always bugs to fix. There's always new features to add. Come and hang out and help out. Anyway, that's it for me. Again, I am Splat, and I'll see you next week. Sayonara.